The Boston Celtics.
Don't do that. Don't
That's
do
how
that.
they say it in Boston.
No, don't do that.
Baahhhston. The Boston Celtics. They beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 112-105. Let's go to the box scores. Jayson Tatum 22-7. Derek White 20 points, 6 3-pointers. KP with 19-7. Donovan Mitchell had a really good game. The only Cav I think who had a really good game the whole game. 31-10-6. Garland with 25 and Jared Allen with a double-double, 17-18. Cavs catch their 10th loss of the season. They are now digits after, starting off the season with a 72-game win pace. Now it's this. Now Cleveland's kind of stumbling a little bit. Boston's catching up. Listen, first, credit to the Celtics. I thought defensively they were awesome today.
Yeah.
Harassing any ball handler on the pick and roll. I think KP would drop, Cornette would drop, and everybody else would switch. And in situations where they were dropping, they were harassing the ball handler. They were pressuring up top. They wouldn't let them get into the offense. Yeah, just from the start, it was a very difficult time for the Cleveland Cavaliers. In the beginning, KP, I thought, protected the rim very well. I mean, the Cavs missed a lot of easy, bunnies around the hoop. But KP had a few blocks. I think that kind of threw off Mobley and Allen in the beginning. The Cavs had trouble scoring the basketball. The Celtics did too. Jaylen Brown was the only Celtics scoring. He scored the first 12 points of the game for the Celtics, and that was 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. It was a very slow starting game. But then the bench for the Celtics just came in, starting hitting threes, and the Celtics started looking like the Celtics on the offensive side of the ball. And the Cavs, they dug themselves such a deep hole, they never were able to get out of it because the Celtics' defense just wouldn't let them do it. And to me, that's the story of the game. The Celtics defense, it looked like the Celtics defense that everybody talks about when they talk about the Celtics defense. We talk all about the Celtics taking threes, which honestly, to my surprise, they haven't been taking them as much, especially the starting unit. They're more mismatch hunting, Jaylen Brown in the post or getting Jayson Tatum ISO. They're not really looking for the three as much as they did to start the year. The bench is for sure, but the starting unit was kind of like mismatch hunting. We're going to KP in the second half in the paint, in the post, Jayson Tatum high post. And I find that interesting. We can talk about that, but to me, it's about the defense and the Cleveland Cavaliers just really not getting anything going. And Garland coming on in the second half playing well. Didn't really have a good first half. Jared Allen had a good second half, same thing. Outside of Sam Merrill hitting a couple clutch threes, Cleveland didn't really have a good game from anybody from the bench or anybody else, and Mobley was awful. I'm just going to say it how it is. Evan Mobley was terrible today. I don't know what it was. He just did not have a good game. He couldn't hit a shot. Bad decisions. They got bullied on the boards. The Celtics had we were just, especially in the first half, we're just killing the Cavs on the opposite boards, getting extra shots. The Celtics today, and I hate to say it because I've been on the Cleveland Cavaliers bandwagon all year, the Celtics look like the better team.
Yeah.
This looks like this looks like it fits the narratives of all the people who don't believe in the Cavaliers, where it's just kind of you see, this is what they're going to be, which I think is unfair because they caught
It's one game. It's
one game. They haven't been playing well lately. Don't get me wrong. It's been a little bit of rough sledding here for the Cavs. And when I say haven't been playing well, they're 6-4 in the last 10, maybe 5-5.
Yeah.
So they're not sliding here, but they've hit a little bit of a peak or a little bit of valley after a huge peak. So I don't know. Good game by the Celtics. I think a lot of narratives going to be starting now about Cavaliers not being ready, but you're going to lose some games, especially to the Celtics, who are now 2-1 against the Cavs. Kwab, any thoughts?
It's one game, so people will overreact, but the Cavs have been struggling lately, like you said, peaks and valleys, and this is a valley. To your point earlier about the Celtics not really shooting as many threes as they have before. Still got 48 threes, even with all that. They still got and that's not, and like you said, but that's more so coming from the bench with Horford putting up 9, Pritchard put up 7.
Derek White went crazy at the end.
Yeah, and I was going to get to that. It felt like anytime the Cavs got close, I think at one point they cut it down to a 4-point game.
Four.
A 4-point game. And it was just it's Derek White time. And that's that's what they say, Derek White, it's Derek White time. Now, I think that's the one thing that's very understated about the Celtics is with your starters, and even I would even throw Horford in there, is that when they can get consistent play from anybody, and it makes a huge difference because you have your two main all-stars, but your quote unquote role players play like all stars in big moments, and it leads to like victories like this. Like having Porzingis back, like you said before, they're comfortable when teams switch, looking for Porzingis in like usually in that the mid post, a high post turnaround shot, or even this game. A lot of times he was getting to the rim, getting a lot of buckets inside, and it wasn't just him standing outside and launching threes. That's kind of like the narrative or whatever. But when the Celtics play defense like this, we're talking about a championship team. It is what it is. Like that's what it basically comes out. You're looking at a championship team. On the Cavs side, I think that it feels like they've been missing like the player like Isaac Okoro in a game like this. Like I think we said this in a previous recap we did of them, where like just having that one player where like you can just put on the scorer on another team and be like, yeah, this is your assignment. Take care of that. And they don't necessarily have that in Mitchell and Garland and like Max Strus and when it comes to your perimeter players. But it feels like you're missing that player they can just throw it on that player. And you don't really have that with Merrill, or even Merrill had a good game, but you don't really have that with him on the defensive side. It was an average game by Ty Jerome today. It wasn't a typical Ty Jerome game.
It wasn't a typical Ty Jerome.
It wasn't a typical Ty Jerome game, man. I expect more from Ty off the bench.
Yeah.
That's my favorite player on the Cavs. Even so, like in what was a mid third quarter, even late fourth quarter, the Cavs were able to make that run. When everybody talks about the Cavalanche, they were able to make that run. But the Celtics just made enough plays, and Derek White just would bomb away and keep the lead.
Hit a couple big threes too.
Pritchard too. And that's when, if the Celtics have a lead and you're trying to cut into it, it's hard. It's hard because they have a great defense, and we always talk about the defense is always going to travel, even when you're not playing well offensively. Your defense is always going to travel because we've done this. We haven't even talked about Drew Holiday, who's arguably the best defensive player on the team. So. I hate if this loss leads to like the narratives of like, well, the Cavs aren't really that good. Like I would hate that to be the topic of conversation because the Cavs are good. Like the Cavs have been really good all year. I just think they're in a tough stretch that they need to figure out how to navigate through. Part of it might be not starting so slow. It feels like a lot of these losses they've started really slow and then try to make a comeback, and they're comfortable making a comeback and playing from behind, but you're not going to be able to win a lot of games that way, especially if you're playing a team like the Celtics.
I'll say this if I'm a Cavs fan. I'll look at this game like, yo, we gave you our C- game. That was our C- game, and we still almost beat y'all. That, like, if I'm a Cavs fan, that's what I'm saying to myself.
That's how you're looking
at
at it.
They didn't play well today, but I've watched this team play all year. That was their C- game. Mobley was awful. Outside of Donovan Mitchell, nobody consistently played a really good game. I mean, Jared Allen had a really rough start, but after that, he was fine. So, like, that's the solace that I take. I think he played. I know you said about Isaac Okoro, and you're correct. But despite that, I still think they played good defense. They were pressuring the ball for the most part at the point of attack. You know, they weren't letting too much in the paint. I thought Jayson Tatum's shot selection today was awful. Yeah. I thought they played great defense on Jayson Tatum. I know he had 7 assists, but and this is a side tangent. Jayson Tatum is like, he could be like, and he is. He's so good. Jayson Tatum's so good. But sometimes he falls in love with like a step back three, or just like, it's not, I don't know if it's lazy or just this ultimate confidence that he can hit any shot that he takes.
Wait, I got a thing I want to say about that.
Okay.
I remember somebody said that, and I think this was actually during the Olympics when the whole thing when he wasn't playing because of Kerr or whatever. Somebody made the point. This might have been a tweet or something I saw in past, and they were like, Jayson Tatum could be a generational driver in terms of driving the ball to the basket and getting contact and finishing through contact consistently, but he wants to play like Kobe.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, he's not so much. He's more step back,
like
lane, step back. Like Kobe was like pivot,
spin,
fade,
but
pivot,
no,
up and under.
Tatum
Like,
does
that's
that.
not Jayson. That's
Tatum does that sometimes too, like the
Yeah.
fake spins, like the fake half
Yeah,
spins, like
or Kobe's like drive hard to the right, pull
right.
up, drive
Well,
hard to left, step like
but
Jason's like I'm a step back from three. I'm gonna get in the
yeah,
lane, fade away.
I
Maybe
mean,
I don't think he's consciously thinking. I mean,
yeah,
obviously he admired Kobe, so he probably modeled his game after him. If I was a Celtic fan, I would just see Jayson go to the hoop not all the time. Obviously, he can hit the three if you're open, shoot it.
yeah.
Go to the hoop, bro. Like easier shot. Like
And I'm not. And by the way, I'm not saying I agree with that statement. I'm just saying this is what I saw in passing. By the
yeah,
way,
I mean he gets
to the
that
comment.
criticism a lot.
Yeah,
He does. But I mean, he's still one of the best players in the league. But I thought
hands down.
overall, my whole point was that even with that, I still think the Cavs deserve credit for how they play defense on him. I thought they guarded the pick and roll pretty well for most of the game. They had some defensive breakdowns, especially in the fourth quarter. But for
Yeah.
most of the game, they played the pick and roll pretty well as well. And then when they went zone, you know, it. My only problem with the Cavs zone is that they play the two up top pretty high
Yeah.
and the three pretty back.
Back. Yeah.
So there's like this big space in the middle that makes me uncomfortable. But the times that I've watched the Cavs, sometimes like they'll for instance, like Porzingis got into that space a couple times and missed elbow jump shots.
But okay, that's what I was gonna say. How
Yeah.
many teams have actually been able to take advantage of that?
Because a lot of teams, the middle guy doesn't necessarily take that shot.
Exactly.
They get the ball in the middle and they're like, I don't know what
Oh,
to do. Because a lot of it is like we got to get layups, we got to get threes, and so like I think that's in their heads.
insane
But
that the
Porzingis
top
took,
players.
Porzingis
Insane
took the
the top,
shots today. He just didn't hit those particular shots.
yeah, I was gonna say insane that the top players in the world
Yeah.
get in the middle of a zone and it's
Yeah.
just like, no, help
Yeah.
me. And it's like because it's always either a layup or threes now. But like you say, Porzingis turned around, like that's a sweet spot for him.
Yeah.
So that the zone shouldn't really affect them that way.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, the Celtics again. Derek White, I think, was huge in this game, hitting 3-pointers at time of 3-quarters. The bench in the second quarter to me won this game in the sense where they built that lead to the point where it was just impossible for the Cavs to come back, and they tried, but it didn't happen. So, 40-10 now, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Are you abandoning ship? Are like we've been on the Cavs all like pretty much all year. And we've been really high on them. We had number one in our power rankings for a while. Do you think that they're still the number one contender to beat the Celtics in the Eastern Conference?
I think so. Just yeah, I think so because I look at how consistently they've played all year. Like I look at it as this just being a bad stretch for them in terms of some of the losses they've taken. Seeing how when they're on point in terms of how they play defense and how they move the ball on offense, they look pretty much unstoppable, especially with the length they have in the front court and the scoring they have in the backcourt and the shooting they have like coming off the bench here and there and like all these other pieces. So I'm not abandoning ship. I might be a little bit like if I'm a fan, I might be a little bit worried about some of these losses and would want them to like have better starts in games. So like you're not playing from behind so many times. It feels like a lot of the losses I've watched, they're playing from behind and they're trying to mount a comeback and they've been able to most of the season. But it's like you need to get better starts in some of these games. Are you abandoning ship when it comes to the Cavs?
No, I'm not. I still think it's the Cavs and Celtics.
Okay.
At the end of the day, I do think the next tier starts with the Knicks, but I don't think the Knicks.
Who?
The New York Knicks.
I never heard of them. 7-game series. 7-game series right now. Celtics, Cavs. Who would you take?
Celtics.
Celtics.
I hate that. I hate that.
Yeah,
I would.
I hate that question too. But I always love
And
asking.
it's
I love
only
asking it
because-
and not answering
and,
it.
And it's only because I just trust the Celtics in the postseason. It's such a cop out answer, and I know
Yeah.
it's such a freaking cop out answer. I was hoping, and listen, the Cavs could rip off like 12 straight from here on out, and I'll be like, okay, I got to see them come out of this valley.
Yeah,
I have to see it because there's always, I mean, and this is uncomfortable for Cavs fans to hear. You're going to hear people who are going to doubt the Cavs. It just is what it is.
And
even
it's
people like
fine.
me and Kwab who like the Cavs and are saying they're contenders because I do think they could win the whole thing. So
Yeah.
don't confuse me picking the Celtics today for not thinking that they can win the whole thing because I think the Cavs can still win the whole thing. But you're gonna hear people say that the Cavs aren't ready. You have to understand that it's just like this is what happened last year. Like, I mean, this is what happened the year before that in the sense of like, oh, we thought the Cavs were going to be good, and then, they get dominated by the Knicks, and then they get dominated by the Celtics. And it's just kind of like, why are we going to believe again?
Yeah.
So for me personally, I believe that they're good because I've seen Evan Mobley take a step forward this year, even though he had a horrible game today. I think Kenny Atkinson is the perfect coach for this team, and I believe in another year of chemistry. Does wonders for a team, and I also like their bench, and they are good they're good on both sides of the ball. So would I take the Celtics? Yes, because I think a result like tonight, like it wouldn't surprise me at all. Like and I hate that I say it because I freaking hate the ball. I hate Boston. Yeah,
same.
I'm a Knicks fan. Like I hate everything Boston.
So my other question for you would be, see how I don't answer the questions I ask? Then my other question for you would be, what stops the Celtics from repeating this year?
Missing threes.
Like just relying too much on that three-point line and then missing. Okay.
Yeah. If Jayson Tatum starts falling in love with his jumper and just can't hit the shot, and honestly, like you can get a team like the Cavs, and this is why I don't think the Knicks can. I don't think the Knicks are more contender than the Cavs. I think the Cavs can do this. You can get a team like the Cavs that can put consistent ball pressure on Jayson Tatum, on Jaylen Brown. Isaac Okoro comes back in. Even as a team, they're good defensively. And they can also protect the rim for the most part. And you can force those shots. Yeah. Whereas the Knicks, like, yeah, you have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, but like we've seen all year, like they haven't been a consistent defensive team at all. And I think the Cavs are better at rotating. And they can switch and go zone. The Knicks don't do that. And if they do, it's not as effective. And they're not hiding anyone really on the end. So I don't know. If the Celtics are to be bounced in the Eastern Conference, I think it's because they ran into a team that pressured the basketball and the Celtics just were not hitting threes and go goal. And it's possible, man. That's very possible. Yeah. All right. Well, there we have it. The Boston Celtics defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers 112-105. Kwab and I will be back soon with our power rankings, so stay tuned for that. Until then, you can kind of catch us at the Dime NBA, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. He's Kwab at Kwab AKS. See you next time for another reaction of the Dime. Peace.